Commander Alex Chen stood at the viewport of the Earth ship Horizon watching the massive Xyrillian royal vessel approach. It glittered like a giant diamond against the blackness of space. His heart beat faster. Today, humans would meet the Xyrillians face to face for the first time. "Commander, it's time," Captain Rivera said, placing a hand on Alex's shoulder. "The future of Earth depends on making a good impression. That's why we chose you." Alex nodded. He was Earth's best diplomatic officer, known for his quick thinking and calm under pressure. Still, he felt the weight of responsibility as he walked to the shuttle bay. The journey to the Xyrillian ship took only minutes. When the doors opened, Alex gasped. The inside of the alien vessel sparkled with crystal walls that changed colors with the movement of the tall, slender aliens who walked through the hall. Their skin had a faint blue shine, and their eyes were large and completely silver. "Welcome, human," said an older Xyrillian with elaborate crystal decorations on his shoulders. "I am High Chancellor Vex. You stand in the presence of the greatest empire in the galaxy." Alex bowed slightly. "Thank you for welcoming us. I am Commander Alex Chen, representing United Earth." Many Xyrillians watched from a distance, their faces showing no emotion. Some whispered among themselves, and Alex caught words like primitive and weak. The High Chancellor led Alex through crystal hallways to a grand room where dozens of important-looking Xyrillians stood in perfect formation. At the center sat an impressive figure on a floating crystal throne, the Emperor. Next to him was a younger female Xyrillian whose silver eyes seemed more curious than cold. "May I present Princess Lyra, heir to the Xyrillian Empire," announced Vex, his voice making it clear that Alex should be honored. The princess stepped forward, studying Alex with open interest. Unlike the others, she moved with a slight bounce in her step. "So you are human," she said, circling him. "Smaller than I expected. How do you survive with such soft skin and no natural defenses?" Alex smiled. "We adapt, Your Highness. Humans find ways to overcome our limitations." "Fascinating," she said, leaning closer. "And your mind. I sense no telepathic abilities, yet you communicate complex ideas." "We've developed different ways to connect," Alex explained. The formal meeting began, with both sides discussing trade and territory. Things were going well until Alex accepted a crystal cup from a server, not knowing that in Xyrillian culture, taking a drink before the Emperor was deeply disrespectful. The room went silent. The Emperor's face darkened, and High Chancellor Vex smiled slightly, as if pleased by the mistake. Thinking quickly, Alex raised the cup high. "On Earth, we have a custom of offering the first drink to honor our hosts," he said confidently. "I wish to dedicate this drink to the wisdom and power of the Xyrillian Empire and its great emperor." He placed the cup before the Emperor and stepped back with a bow. After a tense moment, the Emperor made a sound like crystal bells, a laugh. "Clever human," he said, taking the cup. "Perhaps your species has potential after all." Princess Lyra's eyes widened with delight. "Father, I wish to request this human as my personal liaison." Unpredictability is interesting." "Absolutely not," Vex protested. "A royal princess cannot." "It is decided," the Emperor interrupted. "Commander Chen will serve as Princess Lyra's guide to human ways." As the meeting ended, Princess Lyra approached Alex. "I have studied many species, Commander, but humans are different. You solved a problem with creativity rather than force or protocol." Alex bowed. "I look forward to learning about your people too, Your Highness." "As do I," she said softly. "Though I must warn you, my advisors are horrified by this arrangement." "Why is that?" Alex asked. Princess Lyra's silver eyes met his. "Because for the first time in centuries, I found something truly unpredictable, and unpredictability is dangerous in our perfect empire." 1 week had passed since Alex's arrival at the Xyrillian royal palace. Every day brought new challenges. The palace rules were strict and complicated, with hundreds of ways a human could accidentally cause offense. "No, Commander Chen. You must walk exactly 7 steps behind the princess at all times," scolded Mentor Zix, an older Xyrillian assigned to teach Alex proper court behavior. "And never look directly at royal council members unless they speak to you first." Alex sighed. "I'm trying to remember everything, Mentor Zix." "Trying is not enough," Zix replied coldly. "Your human ways bring chaos to our perfect order." Later that day, Princess Lyra invited Alex to her private garden, a beautiful space filled with strange glowing plants. Unlike other Xyrillians, Lyra didn't mind when Alex broke small rules. "Tell me more about Earth emotions," she asked, watching him with her large silver eyes. "Our species eliminated most feelings long ago. We considered them inefficient." Alex smiled. "Emotions aren't always efficient, but they give life meaning. Joy, sorrow, love, fear, they connect us to each other." "Fascinating," Lyra said, moving closer. "And friendship? How does that work without telepathic bonds?" "We build trust over time by sharing experiences and showing loyalty," Alex explained. "Friends protect each other, even when it's difficult." The princess touched a crystal pendant at her neck. "I've never had a friend." Their conversation was interrupted when High Chancellor Vex entered the garden with several royal advisors. "Princess, the Royal Challenge Tournament begins in 1 hour," Vex announced, glaring at Alex. "All court members must attend." He smiled coldly. "In fact, I've arranged for our human guests to participate." Lyra stood up quickly. "But the challenges require Xyrillian mental abilities." "Precisely," Vex replied. "The human wished to learn our ways. Let him experience them fully." The challenge hall was filled with hundreds of Xyrillians seated around a central platform. Alex stood nervously at the edge, the only human among 12 participants. Princess Lyra approached before the event began. "Chancellor Vex designed this to humiliate you," she whispered. "The first challenge is telepathic mathematics, impossible for humans." Alex nodded. "What exactly happens in this challenge?" "Mental equations appear in the crystal dome. Participants must solve them using only their minds without speaking. The fastest wins." Soon the competition began. The crystal dome above lit up with complex equations that flowed like water across its surface. The Xyrillian participants stood perfectly still, their silver eyes focused as they solved the problems telepathically. Alex watched the equations change rapidly. He couldn't send his answers telepathically, but he noticed something important. The equations followed patterns. Each new problem built on the previous one. Thinking quickly, Alex pulled out his small datapad and began working. "The human brings technology to a mental challenge," Vex announced loudly. "How typical of their primitive ways." The crowd murmured disapprovingly, but Princess Lyra watched with interest. When the final equation appeared, Alex stepped forward and spoke clearly. "The answer is 7,394.28 to the 5th power, divided by the square root of 16. Complete silence fell over the hall. Chancellor Vex checked the official answer, and his face darkened. "Correct," he said through clenched teeth. Later, as the shocked crowd dispersed, Princess Lyra found Alex in a quiet hallway. "How did you solve it without telepathy?" she asked. Alex smiled. "I noticed patterns. When I couldn't compete directly, I found another approach. Humans call it thinking outside the box." "Outside the box," Lyra repeated, confused. "It means finding solutions beyond the expected methods," Alex explained. "When you face limitations, you find creative ways around them." The princess touched his arm, an unusual gesture for a Xyrillian. "Chancellor Vex wanted to prove humans are inferior. Instead, you showed a strength we don't possess." "What strength?" Alex asked. "Adaptability," Lyra answered, her silver eyes shining with new understanding. "And I find it irresistibly interesting." "We must hurry," Princess Lyra whispered as she led Alex through a hidden passage behind her chambers. The archive guards changed shifts in exactly 12 minutes. Alex followed closely, amazed by how different Lyra seemed tonight. Usually perfect and proper, the princess now moved quickly with excitement in her silver eyes. "Where are we going?" Alex asked, keeping his voice low. "The ancient archives," Lyra replied. "A place forbidden to outsiders, and honestly, to most Xyrillians too." They descended through crystal tunnels that grew older and less perfect with each level. Unlike the shining palace above, these passages had cracks and imperfections. Finally, they reached a massive door covered with strange symbols. Lyra placed her hand on a faded crystal panel. The door slid open with a sound of grinding stone. "This technology is ancient," Alex observed. "Nothing like the advanced systems upstairs." "Yes," Lyra agreed. "That's part of what I want to show you." Inside was a vast chamber filled with crystal columns that glowed with a soft blue light. Each column contained thousands of floating images and text. "These are our historical records," Lyra explained. "The complete history of the Xyrillian Empire." Alex walked between the columns, amazed. "Why bring me here?" Lyra's face grew serious. "Because I discovered something troubling. Watch." She touched one of the columns, and images appeared in the air around them. Alex saw images of the Xyrillian civilization through time. Early images showed Xyrillians laughing, arguing, creating art, expressing emotions just like humans. But as time passed, they became more ordered, more perfect, and less emotional. "We weren't always like this," Lyra said softly. "My people once had emotions, creativity, and chaos, just like humans. But over thousands of years, we engineered these qualities away, believing they made us weak." Alex moved to another column and touched it. New images appeared, Xyrillian ships approaching different planets. "These are other species we encountered," Lyra explained. "Some joined our empire willingly. Others," her voice trailed off, "were conquered." Alex finished, understanding the images of destruction. "Yes, and I fear Earth could be next." Lyra pointed to recent records showing Earth's location. "The Royal Council has already discussed how useful Earth resources would be to our empire." Alex's heart raced. "That's why you brought me here. To warn me." Lyra nodded. "My people believe perfect order is the highest achievement. Anything different is considered a threat. Humans are very different." "Alex." Suddenly, an alarm sounded. Red lights flashed through the archive. "Intruders detected in restricted area," announced a mechanical voice. "Someone discovered we're here," Lyra said, panic in her voice. "If they find us, you'll be executed and I'll be imprisoned." Alex looked around quickly, spotting a maintenance tunnel. "This way." They squeezed into the narrow passage just as guards entered the archive chamber. "How did you know this was here?" Lyra whispered as they crawled through the dusty tunnel. "I noticed maintenance panels in all Xyrillian structures," Alex explained. "Every system needs maintenance, even perfect ones." They emerged in a lower level of the palace as the alarm continued to sound. "What do we do now?" Lyra asked, looking to Alex for guidance, something no Xyrillian princess had ever done before. "Now we run," Alex said, taking her hand. "And I need to warn Earth about what I've learned." As they raced through the shadows, Lyra felt something strange in her chest, a fluttering, urgent feeling she had never experienced. "Alex," she said as they paused at a corner, "I'm feeling something unusual. My heart is beating faster, and I feel afraid, but also excited." Alex smiled gently. "Those are emotions, Princess. The very things your people try to eliminate." "Is this how humans feel all the time?" she asked, her silver eyes wide. "Yes," Alex replied. "Welcome to the messy, complicated world of feelings." Guards shouted in the distance, growing closer. "I think I like it." Lyra whispered as they continued their escape. Alex and Princess Lyra found shelter in an abandoned maintenance section of the palace. 3 days had passed since their escape from the archives. Imperial guards searched everywhere for them. "We should be safe here for now," Alex said, checking the sealed door. "No one has used this area in years." Lyra sat against the wall, her silver eyes troubled. "Nothing makes sense anymore. My whole life, I believed our empire was perfect and just. Now I learn we destroyed other species who were different from us." "It's not your fault," Alex said gently. "You were taught what they wanted you to believe." "I feel angry about it," Lyra said, touching her chest. "Is this anger? It burns inside." Alex nodded. "Anger is normal when you discover you've been lied to." "These emotions are so strange," Lyra whispered. "Each day, I feel more of them. Stronger. Being near you seems to activate something in me." Alex explained how his research team had theorized that human presence might affect Cerulean biology. "Your species suppressed emotions, but the capacity for them might still exist in your DNA. Something about human proximity could be triggering those dormant pathways." Lyra moved closer to Alex. "I should be horrified by these changes, but instead I find them fascinating." Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for his. "What is this feeling when I'm near you? My heart beats faster, and I can't stop thinking about you." Before Alex could answer, his emergency communicator beeped, the signal he'd been waiting for from Earth. "Commander Chen," came Captain Rivera's voice, breaking through static. "Our sensors show Cerulean warships positioning near Earth colonies. Diplomacy has failed. We're preparing defensive measures." "Sir, you need to know something," Alex replied urgently. "I've discovered information about Cerulean history. They've done this before to other species." "Then we have no choice but to fight," the captain said grimly. "Wait." Lyra leaned toward the communicator. "This is Princess Lyra. Not all Ceruleans want war. If I can reach my father, I might convince him to stop this." After the transmission ended, Alex paced the small room. "I need to warn Earth about what we learned. But my duty as a diplomatic officer is to try to prevent war." He looked at Lyra. "Going back to the palace would be extremely dangerous for both of us." "I must try," Lyra insisted. "My father might listen to me." Suddenly, the door exploded inward. Royal guards stormed the room, weapons ready. "Seize them both," ordered a tall Cerulean official. "By order of High Chancellor Vex, acting on behalf of the Empire." "Acting on behalf of the Empire." Lyra stepped forward. "Where is my father?" "The Emperor has been relieved of duty," the official stated coldly. "You, Princess, are declared contaminated by human influence. Medical scans show abnormal brain activity. You require immediate treatment." As guards surrounded them, one fired at Alex. He pushed Lyra aside and took the blast in his shoulder, falling hard against the wall. "Alex!" Lyra cried out, rushing to him. Blood soaked his uniform where the energy blast had struck him. Something new and powerful surged through Lyra as she watched Alex struggle to breathe. An overwhelming feeling of fear and concern unlike anything she had ever experienced. "What have you done?" she screamed at the guards, her voice breaking with emotion. The lead guard stepped back, shocked. "The princess shows emotional distress. The human contamination is worse than we thought." As they were separated and dragged away, Lyra kept her eyes on Alex. "Don't die," she whispered. "Please don't die." For the first time in her perfect, logical life, Princess Lyra understood what it meant to care deeply about someone else's survival more than her own. The realization terrified and amazed her. In the distance, alarms sounded as Earth ships entered the Cerulean system. Alex woke up in a cold cell. His shoulder throbbed where the guard's blast had hit him. The wound had been treated, but barely enough to keep him alive. "Prisoner 117, prepare for execution," announced a mechanical voice. "By order of Acting Emperor Vex, all humans are to be eliminated." acting emperor. Alex whispered to himself. This was worse than he thought. Vex had not just imprisoned the emperor, he had taken his place. The door slid open, and 2 guards entered. But instead of Xyrillian royal guards, these wore different uniforms. Quickly, Commander Chen, one said, removing Alex's restraints. The princess sent us. They hurried through dark corridors. Alex noticed these Xyrillians moved differently. Less rigid, more natural than others he had met. Who are you? Alex asked as they entered a service tunnel. Younger Xyrillians who share the princess's condition, explained the female guard. We've been experiencing emotions too. Being around humans has changed something in us. They reached a small room where Princess Lyra waited. When she saw Alex, she rushed to him, touching his injured shoulder gently. You're alive, she whispered, relief clear in her silver eyes. I was so worried. What's happening? Alex asked. The announcement said Vex is now emperor. Lyra's face hardened. Vex has locked my father away. He's declared all emotionally affected Xyrillians as contaminated and dangerous. She gestured to the small group around them. We're gathering others who feel as we do. Earth ships have entered our system, added a young Xyrillian manning the communication panel. Vex has ordered our fleet to attack. Alex's heart sank. We need to stop this war before it starts. How many support your side? Perhaps 200, Lyra admitted. Mostly younger Xyrillians who had the most contact with humans. Against thousands, Alex said grimly. The loud explosion rocked the room, sending dust falling from the ceiling. They found us, shouted one of the guards. Vex's forces blasted through the door. Lyra's supporters fired back, but they were outnumbered. This way, Alex called, pointing to a maintenance shaft. We can reach the communication center through there. As they retreated, Vex himself appeared with elite guards. The contaminated princess and her pet human, he sneered. Surrender now. Alex looked around desperately, his mind racing. He spotted pipes running along the wall. Coolant systems for the palace's power core. Keep them talking, he whispered to Lyra, then slipped behind some equipment. Lyra stepped forward. Vex, this coup will fail. Xyrillians deserve to know the truth about our history, about what we've lost by eliminating emotions. Emotions make you weak, Vex replied. Look at you now, risking everything for a single human. While they argued, Alex quietly combined chemicals from his emergency kit with coolant leaking from the pipes. He had learned basic Xyrillian engineering during his diplomatic training. Even now, where is your human friend? Vex taunted. Hiding. Humans always run from superior force. Actually, Alex said, stepping out, humans adapt. He threw the container he'd created toward Vex's guards. It exploded in a flash of blue light, filling the corridor with dense smoke. Impossible, Vex shouted through the chaos. No weapon should work inside the palace security field. It's not a weapon, Alex called back, guiding Lyra and the others toward the exit. Just basic chemistry. As they escaped, one of the young Xyrillians stared at Alex in amazement. How did you create that? We would never think to combine simple elements as weapons. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years, Alex explained as they ran. We've learned to use whatever is available. Later, in a new hiding place, Lyra watched Alex plan their next move. My people thought humans primitive because you lack our technology, she said softly. But your real strength is seeing possibilities where we see only one correct path. Alex smiled. Now we need to use that strength to reach the communication hub and stop this war. The communication hub is on the highest level of the palace, Lyra explained, pointing to a holographic map. From there, we can broadcast to both fleets and expose Vex's lies. Their small group of rebels, 20 Xyrillians and 1 human, gathered in an abandoned storage room. Above them, the sounds of battle echoed through the palace as Earth forces engaged with Xyrillian defenders. Most of the palace guards are defending against human soldiers who've landed, said Trill, a young Xyrillian technician. But the hub will still be heavily guarded. Alex studied the map. We need a distraction, something unexpected. Unexpected is what humans do best, Lyra said with a small smile. They moved through maintenance tunnels toward the palace center. When they reached a junction, Alex held up his hand, signaling everyone to stop. Ahead, a squad of guards blocked their path. We need another way, whispered Nex, one of Lyra's supporters. Alex shook his head. No time. We need to fight. Fight. Nex looked shocked. We're scholars and technicians, not warriors. Alex turned to Lyra. Do Xyrillians know how to fight without weapons? Of course not, she replied. Physical combat is primitive. We've used technology for warfare for thousands of years. Then that's our advantage. Alex quickly showed them basic hand-to-hand combat moves. Humans have been fighting this way since the beginning. Strike fast and together. The Xyrillians watched awkwardly as Alex demonstrated simple techniques. This feels wrong, said one young Xyrillian, trying to make a fist. It should, Alex replied. Your society eliminated the instinct to fight physically. But sometimes primitive works better than advanced. When they attacked the guards, chaos erupted. The Xyrillian guards, expecting energy weapons, were completely unprepared for physical combat. Despite their superior strength, they didn't know how to react when Alex and the rebels tackled them directly. It's working, Lyra shouted as they pushed forward. They fought their way through 3 more checkpoints, using Alex's unconventional tactics. Each victory brought more confidence to Lyra's rebels. At a major intersection, they encountered heavy resistance. Energy blasts filled the corridor, forcing them back. We're cut off from the main path to the hub, Trill reported, checking the map. Then we make a new path, Alex said, examining the ceiling. These panels, what's above them? Power conduits, Trill answered, but they're too small for us to. Alex was already pulling himself up into the ceiling space. Humans are good at squeezing through tight spaces when motivated. One by one, they crawled through the narrow maintenance space. Below, they could hear guards searching for them. I don't understand, Lyra said as they moved. You have inferior technology, smaller numbers, and no telepathic abilities. Yet you keep finding ways to succeed. That's humanity's greatest strength, Alex explained. We expect things to go wrong and prepare for it. Your people plan for perfection, which fails when anything unexpected happens. When they finally reached the area above the communication hub, Alex peered through a ventilation opening. 6 elite guards surrounded the central console, with Vex himself directing operations. There's too many, Nex whispered. We need more fighters. Suddenly, explosions rocked the palace. Through the windows, they could see Earth ships engaging Xyrillian vessels, lighting up the sky with energy blasts. My people are buying us time, Alex said. We have to move now. He turned to Lyra, who looked afraid but determined. I need to teach you one more human skill. What's that? She asked. Working together as a team, Alex replied. When I give the signal, everyone drops down at once, from different points. Vex won't expect an attack from above. As they prepared, Lyra touched Alex's hand. If we survive this, nothing will be the same for my people. Change is scary, Alex admitted, but sometimes necessary. I'm not afraid anymore, Lyra said, her silver eyes meeting his. Whatever happens, knowing you has awakened something inside me that I never want to lose. Alex squeezed her hand. Ready? Lyra nodded, a very human determination on her face. Ready, now. Alex shouted, and they crashed through the ceiling panels into the communication hub. The surprise attack worked perfectly. Guards scattered as rebels dropped from above, creating confusion. Alex and Lyra fought side by side, making their way toward the main console. Stop them, Vex commanded, his perfect composure finally breaking. The princess must not reach the transmitter. Alex knocked aside 2 guards while Lyra reached the console. Her fingers flew across the controls, trying to activate the Empire-wide broadcast system. "It's locked," she cried. "Vex has changed all access codes." More guards poured into the room. Despite their brave fight, the rebels were being pushed back. "We're losing," Trill shouted, helping a wounded rebel. Lyra's eyes suddenly widened. "Wait, there's another way." She turned to Alex, speaking urgently. "The oldest laws of our empire can't be erased, not even by Vex. There's an ancient protocol. A ceremony room deep below the palace." "What ceremony?" Alex asked, ducking as energy blasts hit the wall behind him. "The sovereign's choice," Lyra explained quickly. "Before we became isolationists, when a royal chose to ally with another species, they would use the sacred chamber to broadcast their choice to all Xyrillians. It can't be blocked or overridden." "Then that's where we need to go," Alex said. They fought their way out of the hub and raced through corridors, now filled with smoke and debris from the battle. As they descended toward the oldest part of the palace, Lyra explained more. "The ceremony was created thousands of years ago, when Xyrillians first met other species. If a royal believed an alliance would benefit our people, they could declare it through the sacred bond. All Xyrillians would witness the connection." "Why hasn't this been used in so long?" Alex asked as they ran. "Because it requires true emotional connection," Lyra replied. "Something my people eliminated from our lives, until now." They reached an ancient door covered with symbols similar to those in the archives. As Lyra pressed her hand to it, Alex noticed the remaining rebels were wounded or exhausted. Only 7 remained from their original 20. The massive stone door slowly opened, revealing a circular chamber with a crystal platform in the center. The walls were lined with the oldest Xyrillian writing Alex had ever seen. "This place must be thousands of years old," he whispered. 10,000, came Vex's cold voice from behind them. "From a primitive time before we understood the weakness of emotion." They turned to find Vex standing at the entrance with his elite guards. The rebels formed a protective circle around Lyra and Alex. "I knew you would come here," Vex said, stepping forward. "I studied the ancient prophecies that speak of a species that would reawaken what we worked so hard to eliminate. Emotions aren't weakness, Vex," Lyra argued. "They're strength. They've helped humans survive despite having less technology than us." "Lies," Vex hissed. "Look what emotions have done to you, princess, ready to sacrifice our perfect empire for one human." He raised his weapon directly at Alex. "The prophecy ends here." "No," Lyra screamed as Vex fired. Alex didn't think. He simply moved, pushing Lyra aside. The blast hit him squarely in the chest, throwing him backward onto the crystal platform. As Alex fell, the ancient platform began to glow. The impact of his blood on the crystal triggered something deep within the chamber's mechanisms. Lyra rushed at him, cradling his body as his life slipped away. "Alex, please," she begged, tears, something no Xyrillian had experienced for millennia, streaming down her face. "Don't leave me." She placed her hand on his wound, not noticing how the crystal floor beneath them pulsed with increasing light. "I can't lose you," she whispered. "I love you." As those words, the first true declaration of love from a Xyrillian in thousands of years, echoed in the chamber, the entire room erupted with blinding light. Vex stepped back in horror. "What have you done?" The light spread from Lyra and Alex, racing along ancient channels in the walls and floor, then shooting upward through the palace and beyond. A psychic wave carrying raw emotion to every Xyrillian mind across the empire. The wave of emotion that spread from the ancient chamber transformed the Xyrillian empire overnight. Throughout the fleet, Xyrillian commanders suddenly stopped their attack on Earth ships, overwhelmed by feelings they had never experienced before. In the palace, guards dropped their weapons, many falling to their knees as emotions flooded their minds for the first time in countless generations. In the ancient chamber, Lyra held Alex's still body, her tears falling onto his face. The crystal platform beneath them continued to glow, growing brighter with each tear. "What's happening?" Trill asked, watching in amazement as the light pulsed between Alex and Lyra. Vex staggered backward. "The sacred bond. It's actually forming between them." "Impossible." Suddenly, Alex gasped, his eyes flying open. The fatal wound on his chest began to close as the crystal's energy flowed into him. "Alex," Lyra cried, joy replacing her sorrow. I can feel something," he whispered. "In my mind, like 1,000 voices suddenly speaking." "And I can hear your thoughts," Lyra said in wonder. "The bond has connected us." The light finally faded, leaving them changed. Alex stood slowly, feeling stronger than before. Lyra's eyes now had flecks of brown in their silver, a physical sign of their connection. Vex had collapsed against the wall, his face wet with tears. "What have I done?" he whispered, experiencing remorse for the first time. So many centuries of suppressing what makes us truly alive. 6 months later, Alex stood on a balcony overlooking the capital city. The Zerillian Empire had transformed dramatically. Buildings once perfect and identical now showed variety and artistic expression. Music, absent for thousands of years, filled the streets. Lyra joined him, wearing simpler clothes than her former royal attire. "The Human Zerillian Council meeting is about to begin. Are you ready?" Alex nodded. Earth's representatives arrived safely. "They're amazed by the changes here." "Thanks to you," Lyra said, taking his hand. The mental connection between them hummed with shared feelings. The council chamber was filled with both humans and Zerillians. The Emperor, restored to his throne, had embraced the return of emotions to his people. Even Vex was there, working to make amends for his actions. "Today we finalize the alliance between our peoples," the Emperor announced. "Not as superior and inferior species, but as equals with different strengths." After the meeting, Alex and Lyra walked in the Imperial Gardens, which now bloomed with colorful flowers from Earth alongside Zerillian crystal plants. "My people thought we were perfect," Lyra reflected. "We believed eliminating emotion made us superior, but we were just incomplete. And humans thought technology determined advancement," Alex added. "We were both wrong." Lyra stopped beside a fountain, watching the play of light through water, something she now found beautiful rather than merely functional. "The bond we formed is spreading," she said. "Not just emotions, but human creativity and adaptability are spreading through our people. And humans connected to Zerillians are developing better focus and mental abilities." "Evolution through connection," Alex said. "Both species becoming something new together." Lyra turned to him, her silver and brown eyes shining. "In all our records and all our travels across the stars, do you know what my people never found until we met humans?" "What's that?" Alex asked. "Love," she answered simply. "The capacity to care about another being more than yourself. To sacrifice for them. The thing that first drew me to you. That made me say, I can't resist you, human." "Is that what you feel for me?" Alex asked with a smile. "Yes," Lyra replied, no longer afraid of the emotion. "I think humans call it love. We don't have a word for it in our language yet, but we're learning." Around them, the city gleamed in the setting sun. In orbit above, ships from both worlds moved peacefully together. Two species, once so different, now growing together into something stronger than either could have been alone. "What happens next?" Alex asked, looking toward the stars. Lyra smiled. "Something unexpected, I hope. That's the human way, isn't it?"